So many people told me that in order to hit $1 million, I needed to hire a full-blown team, which I didn't do. I needed to run ads. I needed to go viral. I needed to have 100,000 followers, all these things. And you know what I did? What I had to do was blaze a new trail for my people. When it comes to selling organically, making $1 million in sales on your Instagram, you truly are able to do this without all of these boxes that everybody wants to put you in. Welcome to the $1 Million Content Podcast and YouTube. I'm so excited today to talk about my story, and it's a juicy one. This episode is going to be extremely pull back the curtain, a little bit more transparent and raw because there is a lot to my journey. So the number one thing that I really want you to take away from today is this idea that so many people come to me with so many different excuses of, well, my content doesn't get good reach, or I just don't think I have my ideal client following me and I don't know how to reach them, and should I start a new Instagram, and all of these things. But the truth is, all of those excuses are things that I currently still live. And I've been able to make over $1 million in sales of my content. I just had a 6-figure day, more than what I used to make an entire year, all in one single day, in the course of 12 hours, which was absolutely wild. That'll be a story for another episode. Today, I want to talk about the journey of how I actually got here. And honestly, there's going to be some things that I share in this episode that are very transparent in the sense of experience I've had, because I've had bad investments and good investments and all kinds of situations along the process of this. And what I want you to do is, if you feel like this really resonates and you enjoy this type of storytelling and you want more details about, these different experiences and things like that, let me know in a review or the comment section so that I can create more episodes like this. And I want you to also be mindful of the fact that even if you do want some of those things, those are things that I will sprinkle throughout these different episodes, but it definitely won't be all about that, because I truly want to get into some nitty gritty. We're going to talk messaging, we're going to talk about sales, all the things. But if you do enjoy that, I also will add that in here and there, because one thing about me is I'm not about to waste your time, okay? I know that you are here so you can take some money-making action and increase your sales organically. So that is what I'm all about. I wanted to start this by saying, first and foremost, I am so happy that I did not go viral. I'm just going to say it because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to pave this path for you or myself. Okay. My clients are having 6-figure months, 50K weeks, 50K days, whether it's a 6-figure day or 6-figure month, so many things are going on. And this is all because I stayed in this uncomfortable season in this journey that I'm about to tell you about, okay? And the reason why this is really important, and the reason why I'm even doing an episode that talks about my story in this journey, is because no one just arrives here overnight. They go through things. And maybe you are currently going through some things that you might relate to in this episode, where you're like, wow, well, if she can do that, then that is something that really encourages me to be able to do as well. So that is why I am doing this, okay? Scary decisions, hard life situations have happened along the way, investments, and all kinds of different things. So this all started, how I started my journey was by having a conversation with my husband. And he told me, he crunched the numbers. He's so good with all things finances. And we were both working full-time jobs, and he crunched the numbers, and it kept coming back that we could start our family, right? Start trying for a child to grow our family within a time frame around 10 years. And for me, I was like, well, what if I don't want to wait 10 years? What if we want to start our family sooner than that? We had just gotten married, and I felt this pressure, and so did he, of wow, we are almost stuck at these jobs until they just make enough so that I can be home. And the whole goal was so that I could be home full time when we did decide to start a family. Okay, so I actually started this journey trying things on my own. What ended up happening was I was posting some content, trying out different strategies, different things all by myself, and nothing was 100% landing, but it was I would work my 9 to 5 and then my 5 to 9, really to midnight, honestly. I was all in. I was trying to build this thing. And that's kind of how this situation got started, but that's not the season that I stayed in. And here's why. Something happened at my 9 to 5 job, and I had ended up losing. They were cutting out this position. Now, I was extremely obviously disappointed and also like, okay, we are a 2-income family. We live in California, in a nice area too in California. Like the only way is that we both work full time. And now our goal, like it was all of this pressure, right? So I lost my job and I was like, okay, I need to interview for new positions as well as I'm going to just go all in on this. So now instead of my 9 to 5, I'm like, I'm just going to work at this thing. Okay. Give it my all and really give it an opportunity to hopefully take off. Okay. And it didn't just happen. I was like, you know what? There are skills I need to learn, skills that I do not have currently that I need to learn in order to be able to grow this. But the truth is, I was just getting started. I didn't know the value of investing and what investments to make, and I didn't know any of those things. I was just getting started. But there was so much on the line. And the reason why I mentioned that is because when you have something at stake, it can be so incredibly helpful for you to go all in. Okay, so lost my job. I'm applying for new positions while I'm also doing this 24/7. And then here comes this decision to make an investment, except that this investment that I was going to make was all that we had in savings. Mind you, I just lost my job. So now we have a 1-income family. I haven't gotten hired at a new position. And then I'm like, hey, by the way, to my husband, I want to spend all of our savings to be able to do this thing. And it was really just to get around women who were doing this and they were in business. So here's what we did. My husband was like, Hannah, I feel like you will always look back on the season and think, what if we don't just do this? So even though it's everything, we're literally putting everything on the line. I think you should do it. And I remember, I'll never forget the funniest thing ever. I looked in the mirror that next morning after clicking purchase, and I remember like brushing my teeth so dramatic. And I was like, did I just make the worst decision of my life? When truthfully, it was the best decision of my life. Okay, but here's why. This thing that I had purchased, took out all of our savings for, I flew to a new state and I networked and created any opportunity possible. Okay. But I remember being on that flight thinking to myself, everything was riding on this. I knew I was about to go into a room full of incredibly successful women. And honestly, their bank accounts probably looked 10 times better than mine. I felt scared. I felt nervous. And I also felt like, listen, everything is riding on this. So I went to this networking and I just thought to myself, okay, in this room full of all these women who are older than me, more successful than me, they all have all of this going for them. How can I think of skills that I currently still have, right, from my past jobs, whatever? How can I apply myself and just sell to them? How can I figure out a way to be useful, to be of service, how can I get into a room that I just invested to be into and now do whatever I possibly can to sell, to serve, to monetize the skills that I currently had. Okay, with my current community on Instagram, the whole thing. And it was teeny tiny. And I was like, okay, probably no one cares about this, right? But here I'm doing this. And because everything was riding on it, it had to work. There was no option. I was all in. So I started making some sales here and there and I was going, and I had this momentum and it felt so good after I got home from this event where I was networking, but I was still kind of like trading my time for my money, if you know, you know. And it was like services I could do for other people, things like that. And then all of a sudden this like well-known coach, still very well-known coach, she offered me like $80,000 a year to become. She saw these things in me where even when I went to that event, I was the youngest one in the room and I just started like coaching. And I was like, oh, well, what if they could do this? And whatever I had accomplished so far on Instagram, I was about to talk about, whether it was hashtags, whether it was anything. I was like landing brand deals. I like did some brand deals, a handful of them. I learned that when I first got started. And so any accomplishment I did have, any kind of skill I did have, I was like there trying to help people with it, okay? So that I could be somewhat established in literally anything. And this well-known coach noticed how in this room full of, it was obvious, like all of these women, right, doing all these incredible things, I still was over here like, well, I can help you with this and I can help you with that. And she was like, oh my gosh, I would love for you to like coach for me. But this was coaching her clients. And obviously, she is getting paid for these big offers, and then I would be doing all of the grunt work. And I remember I was doing some of that work for her in the beginning and all these things, and it was a lot, okay? And I was building something for someone else with my skill set, and I just felt like, gosh, here's this offer now, right? I had lost my job. We spent all of our savings. Here's this offer to make $80,000 a year, right? More than like my husband and I's full-time job combined, okay? But that was it. It would have been capped there. And I remember declining that offer like, what on earth am I doing? Because here's this secure thing. But the truth is, I wanted something lasting. I wanted something sustainable. So I had to be all in, okay? This was the start, that scary investment, and then also declining something that was like right in front of me that I could have had. And look at where I'm at today, okay? This was a pivotal moment for me in business. And what I didn't mention to you is that right before this, my husband lost his job. He also lost the position that they had at work. There was all these different things going on with companies all over. It's like this mass thing. Okay, so my husband now is searching for jobs as well. And now I have this offer to cover both of us, right? And it's capped there. And my husband was like, gosh, like, yes, of course, for us, it's tempting. It looks like security. But what it really looked like was security, but growing this thing for someone else. And then all of a sudden, I'm capped there. And I might get some raises here and there, but I was just in something like that. Not making as much, right? But I was just in something like that. And I wanted to build this thing so that our time frame of building a family, all the things, we had all of this available to us. So I talked to my husband and I just said, when he was looking at new jobs, I was like, what if I made 6 figures with this? What if I made 6 figures? And I will never forget the look on his face. I wish I had recorded it because he just he shook his head and he was like, Hannah, if anyone can do it, I know you can. And also, what is this? Like, that sounds like crazy, like we had never heard of anyone doing this, close to us or in our world in this sense and building their own business and doing all these things. And now I'm trying to blaze a new trail, become a trailblazer and do this thing. And he was like, I believe in you. And that's wild. I would lose my mind if that ever happened. I'm cheering for you, all the things, but that's crazy wild, I was like, okay, I'm in. I made my first 6 figures within 6 months after declining that offer. 6 figures within 6 months. Day in, day out in those 6 months, I didn't know I was going to hit 6 figures. I was just in it, all in. I had declined an offer. I had spent our savings. We don't have jobs. I'm in. There's something at stake. Not only money, not only time, but also everything was riding on it. Okay? And that's why I've been able to accelerate at the speed that I have is because of the way that I move. Okay, so from that point, my income was at a minimum 10K months. 10K months, then 15, then 12K, then 18K or 20K. All of these big accomplishments happening for me left and right. I had invested into learning funnels. I had invested into learning webinars and sales and all of the things. I was just going, an implementer and action taker. And this was also, unfortunately, I told you we're going to get vulnerable. Okay, so a little trigger warning for you just in case this is sensitive, but this was also the year that I had a miscarriage. Okay, so all this momentum in business and growing and it's finally scaling up in 10K months. This was the dream and all this stuff was happening. And behind the scenes, this one thing, right? It's the whole reason we, started the business and went all in was to be able to grow our family. And now we had a loss, of our first baby, our first child. And it was devastating. That season was so hard, and both my husband and I were home full time together through the process. And I cannot tell you the value of that, where my income still stayed the same. Okay, I had built this. I remember staying up, I don't even know what time, I was staying up so late at night in that whole season, building out new funnels and testing webinars, years of my business to test everything. Okay, and then going through these life situations behind the scenes, felt like, oh, by myself, I'm going through this. I quickly realized, wow, I need something sustainable. And I was so thankful because if this would have happened at my 9-to-5 job, I would have had to ask for time off, and you can only take so much time, and there's sick time and sick hours and all the things. And now I realize, whoa, this isn't just a fun thing. This isn't just I can help women learn how to make money online and that's fun. No, $10,000 a month was life-changing for us, not just financially, but freedom-wise, because so many things happened in the process, whether it was that loss or other situations or, family members, unfortunately, that we lost and just situations that happen, right? Life can be hard sometimes, okay? And to be able to have a business, it didn't take away the situation from happening. Being able to have financial or time freedom, it didn't prevent that situation from happening, okay? And I'm not here to tell you that it will. But what it did do was it gave me freedom and options to be able to go through those seasons, how I deeply desire to grieve, to go through this process and know that not only is our income steady, but that I don't have to show up 24/7. I had built this thing that was steady regardless of what had happened. And now it was our thing, right? It wasn't a thing where like a boss could just tell me, oh, you lost your job. You know what I'm saying? Like that was everything to me. Okay. Now this next phase of business is when things get juicy for you because it's a whole story. Okay. And it was detrimental to me, but something that I absolutely could not leave out of my story. Okay. And tell me if you want to hear more about this situation. I'm not going to go in depth about it, okay? But this next phase of my business, everybody was saying ads, run ads, run ads, run ads. And somebody who I really trusted in this whole coaching industry that I had invested into to learn some funnels and webinars and things like that, I loved her stuff, and she highly recommended a well-known ads agency. This person, I'm talking well-known as in like, if I were to name drop the people that they had worked for, insane, like people that you 1000% know. Okay, think of people who have millions of followers that are really great with email marketing and with podcast marketing, just like that type of feel, right? And I was like, okay, if I'm going to be somebody who's like, okay, I grew to the 10K months without ads, that's amazing. But if that is the next thing, then I need to at least test it out and see if it works or doesn't work or what I feel about it. Because the thing about ads is there's nothing wrong with them in essence. It's just the fact that like you do have to put a lot of profit into your ads. And so say I was making 10K a month, did I want to take $5,000 of that, of our income, and put it into ads and whatever other expenses I had and all the things. And so it directly impacts your profit margin when done correctly and all of these things. Yes, it can accelerate you. And so I was like, okay, let me test this out because I need to be able to have proof and evidence. Okay. I'm not someone who will just say something works or doesn't just for fun. I wholeheartedly believe in proof. So I talked to this company. I hired them. This was the most massive investment I had ever made. Think tens of thousands of dollars. Listen, I didn't want to have to run ads, but I knew I had to test them. And so I invested into them. And the craziest thing happened, okay? During this season, I invested into this ad agency and they destroyed literally everything in my back end that I had built as it pertains to funnels, my webinar strategy, my webinar funnels, everything that I had built, right, for this sustainable 10K months. And I was like really tracking. I think I had written like 9 months of emails that like sell my different offers and different tiers, and I had worked so hard on all these things. They got in and because of issues that they had in their company and massive turnover, people were getting fired even that were like working on my account and all these things I'm finding out. And I'm like, what is going on? Come to find out, those big names in the industry also fired this agency because of like major lack of integrity, and they had so many issues going on behind the scenes, of course, that I wouldn't have known about before. And they got my Meta account, my ads account, permanently shut down forever. It is still permanently deleted years later, permanently disabled. And the reason being was because someone on their team kept posting ads that go against like their guidelines or whatever. And I had seen it. And listen, I was in all my funnels, in all my things. So this was so important to me. So I'm in it and I'm like, hey, this is getting flagged, and I'm trying to like turn them off. And then I wake up and like new ones are turned on, but they're still going against the guidelines and being flagged. And all of this is happening that I don't have control over. And I'm like, oh my, this is going, and then boom, permanently disabled my Meta account, which then restricted my reach because Meta's connected, Facebook, Instagram, all the things. It literally said on my Instagram, like that I had been permanently disabled here. Thankfully, they didn't take away my Instagram. Meta didn't, but it was impacted in a negative way because of reach. A lot of people don't know that. It's not just because my content isn't good or whatever that it's not like popping off. No, I've had this experience and I was then flagged and I could not contact people at Facebook. I tried to tell them multiple times this was not me, this was an agency, and I had to log them out of all my accounts, all these things. Okay, this company didn't end up, they not only lost me tens of thousands of dollars, all the things that I had built, on top of the investment that I paid them, on top of what I had already spent in the actual ads as well that they were running. Oh my goodness gracious. The disappointment and discouragement I felt, because When this happened, and it was this massive investment, that's the Reels train took off and everybody was going viral and all these things. And then guess what? My reach is limited because of something that wasn't even in my control. And come to find out, everybody had also let go of this agency, even the person I really had trusted and all of that. But because I was like a smaller account, smaller business, they were totally fine with not making this right for me. And it was such an unfortunate situation. It was a whole thing. Okay, everything I had built to get pregnant eventually, it was all gone. So before we were about to try to get pregnant again to build our family, I had to decide, do I want to quit? Or do I want to rebuild everything that I had just built to get up to this point? And it was a very hard decision, I'm not going to lie, because it was like you think back, okay, I had this guaranteed job before and I had, this offer and I had all these things going for me and what if I just didn't hire them? And now we're out all this money and now this is a season of time where I am going to get pregnant. So that season is when I got pregnant, okay, so that we could build our family and all these things. And the thought of this decision to give up this dream of being able to stay home, build our family, stay home together just because of a bad investment, it literally ate me up inside. I could not do it. I could not. So I couldn't let them take that from me. So instead, I built it all on my own again. Okay. Fast forward, I built it all up. I ended up paying for my own maternity leave. I was able to have our daughter. And it was this incredible experience of like, wow, I was able to rebuild, even though that situation was so incredibly difficult. And I had an option to quit. And so many people actually in my life told me like, now would be the time to throw the towel in if you want to. So many curveballs, right, thrown my way. Okay, so then life happened unexpectedly, as it does, right? We are no stranger to this. My labor was hard, delivery ended up being hard, I was a high risk, and my daughter had to be in the NICU, and all of these things happened, but I now had these 10K months plus still coming in consistently. So again, it didn't remove life from being hard, but it created this ability to be able to have something sustainable that gave me freedom. And the reason that I share this story with you is because I know that life happens, okay? I know that things happen, and I also know that you have dreams. So like, yes, life happens, and a business is beautiful for giving you that freedom, and I know that you have these massive dreams for your family and all your future and all the things, and Instagram is the place where that can work, but none of this just happens overnight for somebody. None of this just happens. I want you to hear this story because it involved a lot of hard situations and risky investments and some bad investments and some good ones and a lot of scary decisions. Okay, so at this time when I had my daughter, it was the actual dream, okay, to be able to nurse my daughter and be able to be on my phone and work, to soak that season up, to be home together as a family. My husband was able to be home full-time. I was able to be home full-time. We raised our daughter together. We're not missing those moments. It was the most precious thing, and that's what I deeply desired. And then shortly after that season, it was time to scale. Because I was like, look, 10K months, 20K months, this is awesome and a blessing and more than enough, right? But I knew it was time for more. I knew there was this possibility, this world that could be possible where we can sow into my daughter's future and we can accelerate and we can have all these things as a family and give back and help support our extended family, all the things. And so it was time to scale. And what did that mean? Of course, another investment, another scary risk to take, right? And so I remember this is the biggest investment to date. And I remember it was more than half of our total family income, not just like what I was making on Instagram, total family, every single dollar, more than half of that. And I remember going out on like a date night with my husband and talking about it. And it was like, I have never been able to like make this much in a month or in a time frame. Like, is this the decision, And while our daughter was still little, I was like, listen, this is the time. If any time, this is the time where I can really go all in on focusing on mastering core skills and deepening my expertise with core skills and being able to get out there and do the thing. And when I tell you, okay, making an investment that is so scary that you have to like find where the money will come from. Look at your, like, okay, where are we going to pull this from? How's it going to work? Do we need a loan? Like when you look at all of that, those are the moments where it could literally change everything. And it did. Okay. So first of all, I made this investment. Nothing lights a fire underneath you more than money leaving your bank account, you being, whatever the case may be, if you have to take out a loan, whatever it looks like, nothing can motivate you. And there's a whole principle behind that, which maybe I'll talk about at a different time. It's the principle of loss aversion. It's like when you have something at stake, you are twice as likely to move than when you just have like a desire in your mind or just like a dream in your mind. You're literally twice as likely. So anyways, did this and I made something crazy, like $49,800 something dollars, whatever. I made back this investment in an 8-hour time frame. Okay, it's a story for another time. I was like, let's go. Nothing had unlocked for me before like that. Nothing. I was still at 10 to 20K months. All of a sudden I make $50,000 within 8 hours. And I'm like, what? It was like a frenzy. I'm like, what is going on? Okay. So it was time to move. So good. My next level was truly unlocked. And that is when this really scaled. And that was when I knew I had my messaging mastered, my sales mastered. I had all of these things, these core skills that I knew could scale, locked in. And all in, I was literally just so committed to showing up and being the person that is polarizing, being the person that is a go-to, leading with what I'm really good at, leading with why I am the go-to coach for organic sales. I don't care if you use Instagram, anywhere else, organic sales is a whole different world and ballgame in and of itself. So no matter where you make sales, your Instagram can be making over $1 million from the content you post. Okay? People told me that was when I surpassed $1 million and I had 50K cash months and I was able to have a 6-figure day. So many people told me that in order to hit $1 million, I needed to hire a full-blown team, which I didn't do. I needed to run ads, which, I obviously wasn't doing. I needed to go viral. I needed to have 100,000 followers, all these things. And you know what I did? I blazed a new trail for myself and for you, so that I could know that this is possible. So I stand here today to let you know that I went through it to have extremely tested and proven strategies so that I could go through that fire of really conditioning and becoming a rock solid coach, a leader that my clients can depend on. Okay? And I couldn't just say that or do some mindset work and become it. No, I had to, because I had been in mastermind spaces, coaching spaces, one-on-one, all these different areas, and I had known, okay, what does this actually look like? What I had to do was blaze a new trail for my people, for who my people are in this organic space, okay? And I was not able to charge what I charge or do any of those things just because of mindset. That's why I'm not just a mindset coach. I was able to do it because now my clients are hitting 50K months or 6-figure months or having 50K days, 30K day. My client just now had a 30K day and my other client had a 50K day. And it's just like, I literally was brought to tears because they came to me like, oh gosh, like it feels like, I might have good copy, but there's just something missing. Or maybe certain people feel like there's like crickets, but there's not. It's like, okay, some people are listening, but they're not actually buying. They all come to me in this way. And then it's like, it's time to go. It's time to scale. Okay. So I stand here today sharing this story with you because of the fact that truly, this would not have been possible if I didn't go all in, if I didn't take risks, if I didn't commit to the actual journey and what the process would look like, okay, in mastering these skills. So that's why you'll hear me talk about mastering your messaging, mastering your sales. I'll have a whole episode on what sales actually is, especially when it comes to Instagram, okay, in this organic space as well. And the reason being is because messaging is the thing that made me over $1 million. Your messaging goes in your freebies, it goes on your landing pages, it goes in your content, it goes in your caption, your DM, it goes everywhere. Okay, I'm going to have a whole episode just on messaging, but mastering these skills that are money-making skills, taking risks, getting into these spaces, the reason that I'm able to be the coach that I am today is because I did all of those things so I could blaze a new trail, show you this path, this possibility that you have to be able to make $1 million plus from your Instagram content. I don't care where else you make sales, just your Instagram content alone. Okay. Without any excuse, there is not one thing. Okay. Listen close. There is not one thing, not one of those excuses pertaining to the algorithm, your reach, your current following size, your like, none of it. There's not one of those things that actually can hold you back from making over $1 million in sales in your content on Instagram. And I'm here as living proof. And that's what kind of coach that I am. And the reason why I say I'm not just a mindset coach, yes, there are certain things when it comes to mindset that are very important. And what's more important is your tangible strategy. Alongside that, I truly feel like these coaches that sell mindset and all that stuff, that should just be an added bonus for what's required inside of programs, but that people should lead with tangible strategies. So that's why I say I do coaching different than anyone I know, because when you get into my spaces, I teach tangible strategy. Why? Because of my story, because of where I've come from, because I've blazed this new trail, and I know it requires specific strategy, specific content, specific messaging, specific freebies, funnels, systems, all the things if you want to master your organic sales to be able to make over $1 million. And it all starts with your messaging. Literally today, there are people that would want to buy from you in your current audience right now today if you spoke the right kind of language to them. So that is why I'm so passionate about what I do, because I have obviously been through this journey and this process, and I'm here on the other side so that I can tell you there is not one thing that can hold you back. Okay, I mentioned to you about the team, all of that. I have one part-time assistant, one very part-time assistant. That's it. You don't need all these other things. And so I hope that this story is a permission slip for you, is my true goal with this episode, is that this is a permission slip for you to know that when it comes to selling organically, making $1 million in sales on your Instagram, you truly are able to do this without all of these boxes that everybody wants to put you in. Okay, so I hope that this is that permission slip for you to know that this is so possible for you, that this dream world is so possible. My husband and I are now home full time together with our sweet daughter. I'm here today dressed up, recording content while she is literally napping, okay, in the other room. And then I'm going to change into my mom clothes and I'm going to go in the backyard and play with her water table together. I have crafts set up that I'm so excited to dive into, her, like sensory crafts, all these things that I'm going to go and play with her right now as I wrap this up. Okay. That is what's possible when you master this. It's this dream world, and I can't play small. I want you to repeat after me. You'll hear me say this a lot. Say, I can't play small because it costs too much. Okay. I cannot withhold this story, this testimony. I cannot withhold this from you because you need to know what is possible for you on the other side. I have people all the time like, hey, maybe they aren't growing their families right now or whatever. Maybe their kids are older, whatever season that they're in, but they want to make over $1 million. Great. Whatever that means for you. Financial freedom, freedom in your family, being able to give back, being able to buy land, being able to make investments, whatever the case may be. How crazy is it that it's literally possible on Instagram? And if the Instagram app shut down today, you can take all these same things and do it on any other platform organically without having to pay for ads. And your ads, PS, will make a lot more money if you also master these things. Okay? This is what's possible for you. I hope that this story encouraged you. If you have more questions about it, I want you to engage with these episodes because, like I said, one thing about me is I'm not about to waste your time, okay, or mine. So whatever you want to hear about is what this podcast and this YouTube, what this whole thing will be about $1 million content, because I want you to win. I want you to be making more money. And the very first place you can start that if you want to work together is my 5-day challenge, which will be linked below. I want to hear from you in the comment section, in the reviews. I want to hear those, what resonated with you and what you want to see more of, so that I can create content for you so you can take money making action to be on track to make $1 million in your content.